Hello and welcome to the Ladies' Room. Today it is my honor to have Scarlett Magda here. Scarlett is only 34 years old and has started something called Vets International. She's a veterinarian and she cares for animals all over the world. Elephants, big cats, dogs and cats. But how old were you when you knew you wanted to be a veterinarian?
I think 8 when I started riding horses. I just had this connection.
Do you work on horses too?
No, because I find the industry to be very challenging. Horse people, and if you work on horses, you don't have time to ride them.
Okay. Okay, so can you tell me what is Veterinarians International?
We're a nonprofit organization whose mission it is to enhance the health of humans, animals, and the environment globally using sound veterinary expertise. So we're using vets to really not only help animals but people as well.
Yeah, I was just going to say that you help humans too. Before we started the interview, we were talking about Thailand and the situation with the elephants there, which is so interesting and so sad at the same time. There's over 5,000 elephants, 2,000 are roaming free in the forest, and 3,000 are shackled. And how big of a space? How do they?
Well, they're all through the country in different camps. And they're not, each camp is different, and you'll find a wide variety of conditions. And they're shackled for different periods of time. Most of them need to be shackled at night so they don't roam around and cause problems. But it's when they're shackled all day that
that's sad.
Needs to be changed.
And how do they feed them when they're shackled?
So they actually bring the food to the elephants. They bring in large amounts of hay and bamboo and pineapples and fruit, like different fruits, and just truckloads come in, and each adult elephant needs about 450 pounds of food a day.
Wow, so they're vegetarians, elephants?
Yes.
And they're super smart.
Yeah.
So when they say elephants never forget, is that a true thing?
Oh, absolutely. When I had to draw blood on an elephant, the following year that I returned, she knew exactly that I was the one with the needle, but
you didn't hurt her.
Oh, no. They hate needles. They're afraid of needles. They're like little babies.
Yeah.
But I do think that she knew that I didn't have a needle on me that time. So the time that I was going to take blood versus when I was just going to give her food, her ears had just come down.
Softened.
And it was just an innate knowledge of what my plan was without me showing up with the physical material that she could see. She would know that I was about to do something or not. So, they are incredibly intelligent, and they definitely don't forget.
And so you're working with the people that have the elephants shackled. They use them for the elephants that paint, and they do shows. And what else do they do with these elephants?
They'll ride them, or we're encouraging walking with elephants, so that you're more on a experiential level with the elephant itself. You can connect more, and it's less demanding typically for the elephant as well if they're safe enough to be walked next to.
What about the baby elephants that are born in captivity? Do they like to see the tourists? Do they like humans, or do they?
Well, just like children, every elephant's different. Their personalities can be quite different. It depends on the environment that they're in, how comfortable their mother is interacting with humans, and what kind of environment she presents to them, and how the people treat the baby. All of those will have an impact on the baby's curiosity. They're always curious, but more whether they're actually happy or not. It's kind of a subjective thing, but I really think it comes down to how they're being treated.
Where else do you have This is in Thailand, the elephants, and is that the only place you work with elephants?
Currently, yes.
And you're working with the governments?
Yes.
and the owners to teach them that they don't need to shackle the elephants.
So our actual work is to provide vet care to elephants in remote areas. We also have a EEHV monitoring program. It's a herpes virus that kills baby elephants. So we're doing a surveillance program. The welfare issues that you're talking about, we're not directly responsible for, but we're aware of, and we're trying to partner with groups like Golden Triangle Asian Elephant Foundation to implement that angle of the work. So our personal goals are to ensure that each elephant is getting the vet care that they need, and while that's happening, there's proper messaging and direction on alternate management practices.
Well, I thought it was really bizarre because, you know, these videos that go around of the elephants painting, you just think, oh, I don't know. I never really thought, like, how did they get them to paint? But how do they get them to paint?
Well, typically it's not a very pleasant training modality. There's usually somebody with a nail or something sharp pointing into the back of the elephant's ear, directing them to paint up, down, left, or right. So an elephant's not just going to paint a flower out of its own vision. It's going to do it based off what somebody's telling it to do. And once they get into a routine where they kind of know the drill, they don't need the guy there directing them anymore.
Poke them anymore.
But typically it's been negative reinforcement, the way they've trained the elephants to do these things.
I don't know. I love animals so much. I love animals more than people, so it makes me sad to hear things like that. So what other areas do you have projects going on, and why is Veterinarians International important for our planet? I mean, it's pretty obvious why it's important, but I like to hear all the things you do.
Well, if you don't mind, I'm going to answer your second question first so that it can parlay into the first question. So something I think people need to know is that more disease comes from animals to people than any other source. So 60%,
Really?
60% of human infectious disease comes from animals.
Is that because of antibiotics and we're becoming immune, or?
No, it's the way our world is structured. So you have wild animals, you have domestic animals, then you have the food systems, the water, the plants, and we're all interconnected.
Sure.
So we're not living in silos. We're living in a web. So animals are constantly interacting with people indirectly or directly. And so if you look at the headlines from the last 10 years, you have SARS, Ebola, bird flu, Nipah virus. Those all come from animals, AIDS. So we're trying to change the way people think about animals from just, oh, they're cute and fuzzy, to our actual health is dependent on their health. So we have to have healthy animals to have healthy people.
Yeah, but I mean, they shoot at all, especially animals here. That's another whole thing, the inhumane treatment. But they shoot them up with so many antibiotics.
Well,
so unhealthy for humans then to eat that meat.
Yeah, well, the FDA is pretty, the USDA is pretty strict on the levels of antibiotics that can be used, and they do testing. But I think the runoff of the antibiotics in the manure that's then going into the water is something that hasn't been looked at closely enough.
Also being used as fertilizer and going into the plants that we eat.
Exactly. Yeah, so that's why we have the environment in our mission, because we need to be mindful of how we're managing these animals, how many animals are on a certain acreage of land. Can that land support that number of animals? So in Kenya, we have a Women, Goats, and Peace program where we work with 265 families. And we chose goats because goats can be fed a variety of food items such as kitchen scraps. and they're very hardy. And we're working in northern Kenya where you have a very arid environment. It's very dry. So the families have lost their husbands from either AIDS or conflict.
Oh, dear.
And the goats, their goat milk is an excellent source of sustenance, protein, fat, and it's perfect for immunocompromised individuals, for young growing children. And so these people are so poor that we have to figure out logical ways that we can ensure that they're healthy, but also that we're not negatively impacting the environment either.
Yeah. I think I was raised on goat milk because I was allergic to cow's milk.
Right.
And really, human beings, certainly after the age of 12, shouldn't have milk at all because we don't even digest it properly.
Yeah, well, it just depends on what's available. So in sub-Saharan Africa, the climate is so harsh that it's difficult to support the growing of like a variety of vegetables to have a balanced diet and all the vegetables that are needed. So the Maasai, for example, their entire diet is blood and
Urine.
milk.
Isn't it blood, milk, and some urine? No? One of those tribes do that.
I'm not sure how they harvest it, but the milk and the blood and meat is really that's all they eat.
Wow.
And it's just,
And they grow so tall.
yeah, and they're so, fit.
Yeah.
So, we just have to be mindful of where we're working on how to provide culturally appropriate solutions.
When you travel, how many people do you travel with?
Very few. So our work is not about bringing a bunch of foreigners to a country and telling them what to do.
Right.
We find experts here in America in different topics and partner them with the specific needs that our programs require. So the GOAT project, for example, they need expertise on goat husbandry and health and prevention of disease. So we send Dr. Beth Miller, who's an expert in livestock health, and she'll work with the community there. When I'm going, it's typically just myself, and I just meet with our stakeholders and our leaders, and we hire all local veterinarians and nurses in country, and the Americans that are on our team are there to provide expertise, but not actually hands-on vet work, because that would take away from the work that the local people should be doing.
Yeah. How do you get people involved in Veterinarians International? Can people email you and say, I'd love to help, I love animals,
Yes.
Can I get involved?
Yeah, we have all kinds of ways. So if you wanted to go in the field, we have opportunities in Guatemala and Chile to provide veterinary services, nursing services. If you wanted to be an assistant and you're not a trained animal healthcare worker, we actually have opportunities for lay people to come and be part of the team to sterilize equipment. Then our actual organization here in New York needs all kinds of help. So if anyone's interested in providing their expertise, we have graphic designers, lawyers, business-minded individuals that help run the organization, and we're always looking for more help. And if you are social and you want to meet our team members and also some of the other board of directors, we have 2 events coming up on June 10th and August 11th here in the Hamptons. We have an events committee. So if you're interested in organizing events, that's also an opportunity.
Where is the event on June 10th? That's coming up pretty soon.
Yeah, it's going to be at the Baker House in
Baker
East
House
Hampton.
is so beautiful.
Yes, it's lovely.
And so will you be advertising that event, and what is the premise of that event? It's just
that event is
fundraiser?
A kickoff. It's to inform people of the actual gala and give them an opportunity to meet some of our team members and our ambassadors and get them excited for the actual gala. So you can find the information on our website, vetsinternational.org.
And that should be coming up on the screen. And then on August 11th, it's Dopo
La
El
Spiaggia.
Spiaggia, La Spiaggia,
Yeah.
which is great.
Yeah,
It's the old laundry race lane.
Right.
It's right near the railroad station. And that will be August 11th. Hours? What hours?
Yeah, so it's our Trunks of Love Gala, the Human-Animal Bond, and it's from 6 to 9:30.
Trunks of Love. So is it focused on elephants?
It has been, but this is the first year that we're going to inform the public of our other programs.
Okay.
So we have our companion animal program and our Goats, Women and Peace program in Kenya that we wanted to let people know we've started since the elephant program in Thailand.
And someone's making you an elephant cake?
Yeah.
How big is the elephant cake?
It's 3 feet by 3 feet.
3 feet by 3 feet.
Yes, it's beautiful.
Worth it to go to see the elephant.
Yes. And Alexis Rockman made our image for the invite, which you can find. If you just Google Trunks of Love, you'll see it. He did a lovely job.
Well, how has this, well, I want to ask you about Chile and Guatemala.
Okay.
But I also want to ask how this has changed your life and how did you get into all of this?
Okay. Well, it's changed my life in that I'm constantly meeting incredible people from different backgrounds, and I get to travel to unique countries, and I just feel so blessed and so enriched by being able to mobilize all these resources, all these skill sets. And I think it's such a beautiful thing when you can bring people in from different backgrounds and help a cause. Because I often get people come to me, oh, I'm not a veterinarian. How can I help? I said, no, we don't need veterinarians. Yeah. We need designers, and we need people to help the organization and ambassadors. And so that's what really makes me so excited and blessed and humbled. And I got into the work. My parents were refugees from Eastern Europe, and they had instilled in me the knowledge that the world is not the same for everybody. It's very challenging, and we're very blessed here in North America. So they had taught my brother and I to be grateful for what we had. And then I was also blessed to have them support my travels since I was 16, and I've been on many continents, and that experience opened up my eyes to see this human-animal connection. Yeah. And how important it is that we take care of animals if we want to help ourselves. So that kind of stuck with me. And through vet school, I was also blessed to have fantastic professors at the University of Guelph. One of them, David Waltner-Toews.
University where?
Of Guelph, Ontario Veterinary College.
In Ontario. So you're Canadian.
I am.
Your parents were doctors?
Yes.
Regular doctors or
yes.
Special?
Family. We had
family
their
doctors?
practice was in the basement of our house.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So they had an office in the
Correct.
basement.
Yeah.
My father had his office in the basement. And one time when my mother sent me to bed without dinner, guys, I was little, and so that she would punish me. She would send me to bed without dinner, and then she would sneak up the dinner. And my father had these steps that went down to the basement that were outside my bedroom window, and she had made this summer squash, that yellow squash. But back in those days, in the 50s, mothers boiled everything, and it was like this slimy stuff. And I threw it out the window, and the next day my father's client slipped on the squash.
Oh, no.
Oh, and then I got on more trouble.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's all besides the point. But, my parents had their office in the basement, too. In those days, in the 50s, you could do it. Probably now, it'd probably be against the law, right?
Well, actually, there is another doctor who took over the practice once my dad retired, and there is another family living upstairs. So they're separate.
Okay. Do you still get back to Canada a lot?
Not too often, but a couple times a year to visit my family.
So what do you do in Chile?
So we partner with the Global Alliance for Animals and People, and we offer a low-cost community veterinary clinic there. And there's a tapeworm there called Echinococcus granulosa, and it's passed from sheep to dogs to people.
Oh, no.
And it sets up cysts in the liver and lungs of typically young children, and it's passed through fecal-oral transmission. And we are educating the community about this cycle. So we teach sanitary hygiene practices and deworm the dog. So it's an $8,000 to $10,000 surgery in a human, but for 10 cents,
goodness,
you can deworm the dog and break the cycle.
Isn't that amazing? For 10 cents, you can solve the problem, and it's $8,000. Even in Chile, the surgery is $8,000, because here in the United States, there's like a cream called Voltaren that's for pain, and it's $94 a tube. And in the Dominican Republic, it's a smaller tube, but it's 10 cents.
Right.
Same thing. So I'm shocked that operation is $8,000.
It's possible that it could be less, but that's the number I was quoted on,
and painful for a child. Horrible.
Yeah, it's a chronic debilitating illness. So because it doesn't show up right away, it takes years to manifest. We definitely need some help in that area where we can bring public health experts to do some studies and try to understand really how prevalent this disease is down there.
Wow, it's amazing that someone even made that connection, that's how it happened. And so what do you do in Guatemala?
We focus on rabies prevention. So 55,000 people a year die from rabies every year. That's just documented.
Is it carried by bats or?
It can be, yes. Bats are definitely the most migratory animal that will transmit the disease. But in Latin America, most of the human cases are from dog bites.
Oh boy.
So we focus on prevention because many of these diseases are billions of dollars to treat, but they're a fraction of that to prevent. So we work with a remote Mayan community, and we have a workshop where we're giving children skits, we do plays, we do interactive exercises to teach them about empathy to dogs so that they're not throwing rocks at the dogs, which will make them
the way
more
they
apt to
treat the
bite.
dogs in the islands and in poor areas is so sad. And
But you really will notice an improvement in this community with they're not as afraid of the dogs because dogs react to how we treat them.
They can sense the adrenaline immediately.
Yeah, so we're really focused on education of providing food and water, shelter for your dog, not letting them roam around, vaccinating your dog. And we partner with the municipality there of health and the Ministry of Health, and they provide the rabies vaccines. And then we set up a clinic there and do sterilizations and vaccines for the community. And these people walk hours in the mountains to bring their cats and dogs for vet care. So they're really dedicated. They just don't have many resources.
When humans get rabies, my two nephews had to have the rabies shots because their cat brought a bat home and left it on the porch as a gift.
Yeah.
And the two boys were like, oh, look at this. My niece didn't touch it, so she didn't have to have the shots. But in those days, they developed the vaccination in duck eggs. So when they injected it, it was yolk, so it was a large needle. And they had to get 18 shots around in their stomach. I mean, the treatment for rabies is horrible. Do they still do it the same way?
It's just prevention. So if you can get those vaccines before the virus reaches your nervous system, you will survive.
Okay.
But if it's already in your nervous system, it's too late. So that's why it's really important to have these protocols, which we do, and quite effective in North America, where we're very strict on making it the law that your cat or dog has a rabies vaccine.
Right.
So we've done a great job in North America, but we still have cases every year. There's human cases of rabies.
Are there any celebrities getting involved? Are you getting out there are any celebrities getting involved in your projects? And
yeah,
what
we've
projects
been really
do you
fortunate
have going forward?
So Cornelia Guest launched our charity with us, and we were actually in Vanity Fair for that opening. And Christy Brinkley had done a lovely speech for us last year. She also supported us for Elephant Program. We have Dwayne Hill, who's a voiceover actor, who's one of our ambassadors. and Christine Evangelista. She's an up-and-coming wonderful actress on The Arrangement who's going to be on our host committee this year. And I'm just trying to think. There's like a couple names that have.
You're going to the Emmys.
Oh yeah,
You're going to the Emmys. I'm glad you're sliding some fun in between all these
it's
trips
important.
to exotic places.
Yeah, Dwayne and I will be at the Emmys next week, so
Very
I'm excited.
cool. Very cool. It's just amazing the work you do. I mean, do you have time to rest in between all these trips?
Well, you have to make time, right?
You also operate on animals in Riverhead at the emergency clinic there.
Yes.
Scarlett, you're amazing. I mean,
thanks.
But
I love what I do, so it doesn't feel tiresome, you know.
And animals, I mean, they're so precious.
Yes.
I couldn't live without my pets, really.
No.
I've had them all my life.
Yeah.
Love them so much. But now we have 2 new kittens who have decided they want to sleep with me every night, and tick season is coming, and those, you know, you can put the stuff on them, but ticks just walking on them drop off in your house, so you don't know. But anyway, never
make sure you
never had Lyme's disease.
Brush your animals every day.
Yeah,
it's really important.
Yeah,
and there's Lyme nephritis, which will kill dogs. So it's not just the bone aches and the lethargy sometimes.
So they can get Lyme's disease too. Well, we have run out of time, but we could talk forever, and I know you have some really great videos, so you must come back.
Okay.
Because I'd love to see the videos, and it was so...
Breathe in.